For those of you that know me, you already know me. And those of you that don't, I'm Rob Skinner. Most of you that are going to see this over the next few days and the few weeks have either worked with me or worked with my wife or taken our classes, or maybe you have done business with us and you're our friends. But my wife and I, Kimberly, we do want to tell you that we love you and we appreciate you. The message that I have for you today, maybe the most important message I've ever delivered. I want to do it with somewhat, I don't know, a different approach maybe. I don't want to hype you up, but I'm so excited I can't hardly sit here in my chair. I want to jump up and down and scream hallelujah at 55 years old. I have something that is life-changing for anyone and everyone who will just absolutely just take a few minutes here with an open mind and look. And am I going to ask you for something? Yes, I'm going to ask you for a couple of things. An open mind. Watch this to its entirety. If you don't like it, just email me back and say, Rob, don't send me anything ever again, or whatever the case may be. And you're probably going to end up spending $9, which a gentleman I'm going to introduce here in a minute is going to share with you that there's a money back guarantee on. So it's $9 for you to get a trial period on this. So it's not going to be anything you can't afford. So one of the things that whenever I'm addressing people, I try to target a certain market. And the interesting thing about this message is it targets every market. I don't care if you're a business person like me that has struggled for 30 years to duplicate. And if you're not in your business, working on your business, at the business, your business isn't doing well, or you've been fortunate enough to actually duplicate your a little bit and you just want some added income. Or you're a person that, has chosen to be an employee and is just sick and tired of being sick and tired, that story. Or you're an investor and, either, funds have run out, you don't have a lot of money to invest anymore, you don't have the expertise that you'd like to be an investor. It doesn't matter where you're coming from, whether you're broke, whether you've never sponsored anybody, whether you're a monster sponsor, it doesn't matter. What we're going to show you right now is a way to kind of shorten the curve. If you've read the book or you've heard of Malcolm Gladwell in The Outliers, he talks about a principle where it takes about 10,000 hours to master anything. And we know that a professional athlete will oftentimes come out with millions of dollars after experiencing thousands upon thousands upon thousands of successful hours of practicing and then doing their art. But then they get into another business, they don't spend any time in it and expect a huge return, and they go away broke. Well, generally it takes about 4 hours a day, 7 years to put in 10,000. Well, some of us don't have that much time. What I'm going to show you now, the man I met about a week ago shared with me underground. And Paul, would you pop that picture up real quick?
Yeah,
can I do that? I can do that. This picture right here is me, a little overweight. I apologize for that. My friend Paul Hutchings, just to the right of me, behind me, and a man named David Wood. And I make no apologies for any one of the three of us, but in particular, David Wood. This gentleman has generated over $150 million in sales over the last couple of years. And what he showed me will shorten that 7-year curve. Now, there's a lot of forgiveness in our industry. And the great thing is, while you learn and while you master something, if it takes you 3.5 years because you double up the hours, or it takes you 12 because you only want to work an hour a day, it doesn't really matter. There's a lot of forgiveness and you can make a lot of money in the meantime. But we've kind of called this the underground freedom blend, where online and offline, I don't care if you're a hard school old timer like me, belly to belly, kiss the baby, shake the hands, three-way calls until you got cauliflower ear. I don't care where you come from. We have something that's going to change the way you've ever looked at this industry. And we've got a 3-year-old company that's done way over $150 million and gone through the tough parts, and it's like a new launch. So with that, what I want to do is introduce you to a friend, an associate, somebody that shares a faith-based life like I do with me and my wife. His name is Paul Hutchings. He's a partner now. And Paul's story is something we're going to allude to in and out of this conversation tonight, because it's paramount to what we're talking about, and consequently, it's it's symbiotic to your story possibly and your success. We won't cover everything tonight because of time. I'm just going to urge you to get a hold of me as quickly as possible. When you see this, tell me you're in or you're out. It's $9. It's guaranteed. I mean, get over yourself. Just pull it out of your wallet. Get your credit card out now and do it. I mean, that's really what I'm going to tell you to do. If you don't ever want to do business with me or Paul, then pull out your credit card and do it with somebody else. But you'll want to do this. I promise you. And you don't want to feel foolish if you don't do it for $9. We're departing from the normal course of action for a company for a number of reasons. It's long due where online and offline come together. It's long overdue. And, we'll go over some of those things tonight. But Paul's story is so amazing. And he is going to get to the crux of why this works. And then some of you that know my story, and I'm going to take a minute here, Paul, and forgive me, but I think I have to tell this story because there's a current running through me and a prompting that says if I don't, I'm foolish. But my first attempt at a home-based business was with an easel, a chalkboard, and I went into a young man's home, and we were in his mother's basement. And before I could even get my circles drawn, if that gives you any kind of indication of what I was doing, way back in the day, it was just a week after my 18th birthday. My 18th present was this easel. And I got into my own business, and I was told to go out and find 10 people that thought like me and do what I would want to do, and don't call me back until you do. So that was my pilgrimage. And so I went in my first appointment, and I was nervous as heck. And when his mother came down with a plate of sandwiches and lemonade, she looked at the board and asked me if this was Amway. And when I said absolutely, the next thing I remember is her little hands on the back of my belt and on the back of my neck and running me out her front door. And I remember tripping over her steps and landing in her drive. And as I turned around to look and explain myself, there come my easel and my board on top of me. She threw it out of the house. That was my first experience. Now, I've had some major success since then, both in private and in home-based businesses. And I've had some failures, and some of you too. Some of you have been on some of these rides with me, and we've worked very, very hard. And, it's been one of those love-hate relationships at times. I've never, ever seen what you're going to see tonight. So I want to bring on Paul Hutchings. He's an amazing young man. He's a father of 4. He has a beautiful wife. They live in Blackfoot, Idaho. It's some of the country I hunt elk in. Paul and I met through my beautiful wife, and Paul hosts a call. It's a Think and Grow Rich call that he's had now for 5 years, and he has a following of a few thousand people. I don't know how many hundreds are on the call every morning, cheering and hooting and hollering and carrying on like nobody's business early in the morning, and they do an hour-long call every day, and he's done this for 5 years. But Kimberly's partaking in that call. It's a free call. He gives of himself freely. But anyways, Paul, can you come on and share with us a little bit your story? And then we're going to get into a very short, what are we doing? And just ask you to call us back and get involved.
Yeah, my pleasure. And hello, everyone watching this presentation right now. I don't know if it's morning where you're at, afternoon, evening time. Wherever it's at, thank you so much for taking a little bit of time out of your day. I believe the information that Rob is going to share and that I'm going to share with you could be the most profitable information that you've ever seen in your entire life, and I mean that sincerely. So my quick story, I actually grew up in Southeast Idaho, as Rob shared, and I went the traditional route where people are like, you need to go to school, get a good job, and then you'll live happily ever after. So I went to college. I got a business degree. I came back. I started working in the corporate world, and they put me in a cubicle. And I quickly realized that, living a corporate life for the rest of my life was not something that I wanted to do. I felt like I was pent in. I felt like there was more that I had to give, and I just didn't want to be involved in that. And then I got exposed to network marketing. My story wasn't quite like Rob's. I don't think I ever got picked up by the back of the shirt and thrown out of a house. That's such a great story, Rob. I've never heard that before. I'm sorry. But anyway, I did have a rough time. Like my first year in network marketing, I made $0, and it wasn't for lack of trying. I remember memorizing the sales presentation in the back room of my 1984 single wide trailer house and standing up in front of a room every week for an entire year, giving this presentation to people. And at the end of 12 months, nobody had joined. But I stayed in it, right? Because I just had this dream of freedom. And fast forward the next few years, I jump around from, different opportunity to different opportunity, still looking for the dream, still looking for freedom, still looking for a home, still looking for a place where I could make my mark and just make enough money, honestly, to be able to support my family. That was my dream in the beginning. I just wanted to make $3,000 a month, passive income, so that I could be a dad to my kids and be a husband to my wife and not be shipped all over the country like my job was doing at the time. That was my dream, and that's all I wanted. But for years, I was involved with companies and opportunities where it just kept eluding me for a lot of reasons that maybe Rob will get into tonight. A lot of the common problems that exist in network marketing, I ran into, right? And again, Rob can maybe address some of these later on in the presentation. But in any case, I got to a point in the latter part of 2009 where I had actually quit my job because I thought maybe I wasn't finding success because I still had this job. And I said to my beautiful wife, I said, honey, maybe if we just go at this thing full steam ahead, maybe if I just quit my job, maybe that's the secret. Well, I quit my job, and over the next 6 months, despite my best efforts, my income continued to go down. And part of the reason was because the company owners of the network marketing company that I was in at the time actually decided to take half my downline and move them to another spot in the company. I don't know if you've ever been in a company where the leaders do things that are not ethical. Maybe they've done things where they violated your trust. And that was one experience. And I've had several of them. And if you've been in network marketing for any length of time, odds are you've had a few of those. And that's part of the reason why I'm so excited about what we're going to share with you today, because we believe we have a solution for that, a big solution. Well, in any case, I was in this single wide trailer house parked on my grandfather's land here in Southeast Idaho. Savings were dwindling. My network marketing income had gone down. I was jobless. I had a few $100s a month coming in. And it came to a point where I was tucking my two kids in bed in the back room of this single wide trailer house. I'd read them their bedtime stories. They were 4 and 2 at the time. My two boys, I'd watched them drift off to sleep. And I looked at those two little faces and I realized that I was failing. My plan wasn't working. 5 years of trying to make this home business thing work, and it wasn't working. And I got humbled, and I literally started to cry as I looked at those kids' faces. And I was like, what am I going to do, right? I'm jobless. My home business stuff is not working. What am I going to do to fix this problem? And I did the only thing that I could think to do at the time, and that was I knelt down by the side of their bed, and with tears streaming down my face, I prayed to God to help me find a solution. I mean, I just wanted to provide for my family. I never had these dreams of driving Lamborghinis and having big fancy houses. Not that there's anything wrong with that. That just wasn't where I was coming from. I just wanted to provide for my family. So there, from an earnest prayer to God, I offered that prayer, and a couple of things happened, which I think is a good lead-in, hopefully, for some of what Rob and I are going to talk to you about today. The first thing that happened was I ran into a gentleman who happened to be in the picture that Rob flashed up on the screen when we first started this recording today, a guy by the name of David Wood. I found him on the internet. I started following what he was teaching me. I started doing what he was teaching me to do, which was it was a mixture of traditional home business that I'd been taught, where you love people, where you serve people, where you find out what their dreams and hopes are. It was a mixture of that. And then it was a combination of that and the internet and lead generation strategies online. So in any case, I started following what this guy had to teach, and within 6 months, I started seeing emails come out from the company that I was in at the time. I was in a nutritional company, and these emails were recognizing me as being a top producer in the company. 12 months after I started following what this guy had to teach, I had hit my $3,000 monthly goal after 6 years of network marketing, right? 1 year of just applying what this guy taught me. I hit my $3,000 monthly goal. I was able to finally be free from home. And then it just kept continuing to get better. My income from that point went to 5,000, and then 7,000, and then 10, and then 20, and then 25. That's my best month so far. I had a $25,000 month. Where I earned $25,000 in a month. And what blows me away is the year prior to offering that prayer and finding this guy, David Wood, that we're going to be talking about tonight. I remember doing my taxes, and my entire year tax return, Rob, showed that I had made, it was like $17,000 in income. And then I find this information, and in 1 month, I surpassed what I'd earned in an entire year. So because we're talking about income, we better say that results are not guaranteed, they're earned. Results will always vary, and you're going to want to see the average earnings disclaimer with whatever company that, you choose to work with. But long story short, finally, after applying some of what you're going to see today, I can say I now have my freedom, right? And that's what it was all about for me. I get to stay home in the morning with my kids and have breakfast with them, and I get to be a dad. And I don't know that I can almost guarantee that I wouldn't be able to say that had I not found the information that Rob and I are going to be sharing with you through this presentation. So that's my story, Rob.
Oh, Paul, that's amazing. I don't know about you guys, but I've had a few of those prayers myself, and many of them have been answered in many different ways. And it's when you look at your children or your wife or your husband or whomever you're there to help and serve, and you feel like you're just not quite getting it. We're talking to you. We're looking for people that are not satisfied. And I don't care what level of unhappiness or greatness is in your lives. If you're great right now and you've just got an empty hole and you're looking to help some more people, this is for you as well. Paul, in your first year, you sponsored a big goose egg, right?
That's
you sponsored 100% of you were 100% of your online business the first year.
That's right.
How many did you sponsor the second year?
So my first year I sponsored 0. I made 0 money. My second year I probably sponsored 7 to 10. And then that cycle kind of repeated itself until I finally started to have what I thought was success. And I sponsored 24 people over a 2-year period. So 1 a month for 2 years. That was my biggest success in network marketing before I found what we're here talking about today.
Okay, so one of the messages that we have to get out there tonight is because people have heard, oh, it's easy, you can get 2 and get 2 and get 2 and get 2 and blah, 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 blah. And honestly, if you've been around as long as I have, and some of you guys that are watching this, I think I want to throw up in my mouth is probably a common theme that it's probably going through your head right now. Again, they're telling me that again. And no, we're not telling you that again. Sponsoring is an art. And you need to learn how to do it if you want to do it the old-fashioned way, or you need to learn how to do 4 daily core commitments and 4 other core commitments over a period of time. Some of them are one-time commitments. Some of them are, ongoing long-time commitments. But like for instance, one of the long-term commitments is being on the weekly call for an hour. So it's an hour commitment once a week. The 4 daily commitments, are very easy. You develop a little content, you do, you put that online or you market that somewhere, and then you read something positive and you listen to some of our inner circle tapes. This is something you do in your downtime. So I won't buy into any excuses. I'm not going to provide you with them or a way out. If you don't do those things or you can't do those, just click done now. Don't listen to any more of this, because you won't be successful in this and most likely in other things in your life either. Because if you're not reading something positive every day, and I don't care whether it's scripture or whatever you choose, Tony Robbins, Eric Worre, I don't care where you go to get it. David Wood, Paul Hutchings, if you get on his call, that counts. But some good content coming in your brains every day, and you do that again in your downtime. Some people do it in their shower. They put it up in their shower. Some people do it while they're getting dressed or making breakfast or on their drive, their commute to their job, whatever. That doesn't take any more time out of your day than you're already using. We call it downtime. So again, I'm not going to, I won't even get into listening to excuses for that. But I promise you that what I found out after leaving Nashville, I think it's a good time to talk about Nashville, Dave. Dave, I live in Florida now, as most of you know. I'm a Northwest guy. I love the Pacific Northwest, and some days I cry just because I don't live there anymore. But all I have to do is walk to the beach, and I pretty much get over it.
At least you have friends you can come visit, Rob.
That's right. That's right. Lots of friends in Idaho and Alaska and Oregon. But I went to Nashville. Paul came and visited Florida several months back, and I was engaged heavily. And anybody that knows me knows I am a laser focused person. I mean, it doesn't mean I don't do various things, but generally in one genre, I pick a horse, I ride it till the horse dies, or we cross the finish line together. That's been my mantra. It's how my dad taught me. I believe in that. I follow those that are successful, and most of them keep their main thing the main thing. And then the diversification is a product of supporting that. And I believe that. I believe that wholeheartedly. When I was successful in the car business, it was because I was laser focused and I worked really hard at that. Didn't mean I didn't have other investments and other interests, but I kept my main thing, and I made sure it was then. Well, my main thing was something else at that time. I went to support Paul. And I left after seeing hundreds and hundreds of events. I left, and I think I told Paul this, that was one of the, if not the most amazing event I've ever attended. And if I was ever in a position to, be interested in that type of business again, I would definitely. This is one that would be at the top of my list to do a little prodding and investigation. Well, Kimberly, my beloved, would not let it go, and she finally. Just kind of got done with me and said, I'm doing this, and I want to do it. And part of anything we've ever done is we do it all the way. And I said, well, I support you 100%, and I really didn't mean it, in a sense that the support she needed. What I meant was, yeah, you can do it. I really don't care. Well, we went to Nashville because that was part of supporting her. I got to drive from Florida to Nashville, and we got to drive along the Gulf Coast and go. And that was a life-changing event for me. I walked in on a Friday. It was a 3-day event, dreading that I was going to have to sit in some room listening to some guys tell me what I've heard 1,000 times before, over and over and over again, blowing air into my body, only for it to have it dissipate over the next couple of weeks. And so I wasn't buying in. I wasn't even hardly listening. And they said, keep an open mind, take notes. I wasn't taking notes. I didn't even bring a pen. I wasn't going to open my computer and punch keys. I wasn't going to do any of that. Well, Paul got me an introduction to David. David, after 30 seconds, turned to his Secret Service-like guys. That was pretty incredible. Looked like the guys off of Miami Vice and the President's people, and asked me if I'd come backstage. And the picture you saw was us after an hour of talking to David, and then walking down the tunnels underneath the Gaylord Grand Ole Opry Hotel. I mean, it's like a city down there. It was really weird, and I wasn't sure why we were down there or what we were doing, but David was very busy. I left knowing at that point that my life had changed. And so, being who I am, I don't make decisions snap, but I make them quickly. The minute I've decided that I'm going to do something, I make that decision and I do it. I knew at that point my life had changed. Well, we went back to the hotel room. Kimberly and I talked for a long time about life in general. And the next day I made a commitment to David and Kimberly that I was all in, and that I was 100% in. And on the ride back on Monday, Kimberly and I started talking and listening to some of the things. But Nashville is where I watched people that, if I was to prejudge who I would put on my list to call next for a home-based business, very few of them would have been on that list based on the teachings of people prior to this. And I watched these people one after another tell their story and tell me in privately how they went from never sponsoring anybody to sponsoring hundreds. Now, Paul, I'm gonna ask you a real quick question. How many people do you sponsor? How many people have you sponsored now since that 24 over a 2-year period?
Since I met David Wood and started following the things that he's taught, I've personally sponsored over 1,300 people over the last few years. I think it's been since it's been It's been about 4 or 5 years, so 1,300 people personally. Over the last 2 years, I've sponsored 456 just inside this company.
Oh my heck! You must be spending like what 40 hours a day on three-way calls?
0 three-way calls, not one. I don't think.
Oh, what?
I may have done. I may have. Someone may have roped me into one, but that's about it.
That would be me. That would be me.
Yeah, that was you.
You must be doing. Yeah, victory for the old guy. You guys don't know this yet, but if I am a failure, I will have at least one thing to write on my tombstone. Two things. One, that I got Paul Hutchings to do a three-way call, and two, that David Wood has coined me with the best closing line ever, and we'll use that on a different training. But it's incredible because this isn't an isolated story. It's how your company built $150-some million in sales. Nobody in the company makes three-way calls. Nobody does presentation after presentation after presentation. It's all done for you guys by an amazing marketing system that all you have to do is write a little content every day, put it on Facebook or whatever. Matter of fact, we're doing a 50-day or 90-day Facebook launch right now to where we're suggesting people don't do anything else. And we're getting, David Wood promised me that if people would do the 4 core commitments a day, and the 4 core commitments, if they were all in their mind and working all in the business towards that, that in 90 days their lives would change. And I take that to saying that 7-year curve on an average of 4 hours a day to get 10,000 hours to be an expert at this, you will become an expert a lot faster at this, make a lot of money during the time, and do that. And we're going to segue into the money in a little bit because I know everybody wants to know what's in it for me, and I'm good with that. So do I. But we're going to get there. But I wanted to, it doesn't matter what the money is. It doesn't matter what charts we put up there. It doesn't matter what products we sell. If you don't believe you can do it, because that's really the bottom line. If you can't do it, and Paul, is there anybody that can't do this? Anybody?
I would say the only person who might not be able to is someone who maybe has some sort of like a mental disability. Other than that, if you've got a desire, if you have the ability to learn, if you're able to be coachable, I believe anyone can do this.
Mental, do I have to quit? No.
What's that? I should have told you that before we signed you up. Huh? I'm sorry.
Yeah. We Paul even or David even talks about a gal that that's bedridden that does his business. I have a gentleman that joined all in in his heart, soul, and mind, and oftentimes his MS keeps him in bed, and we were in tears together the other day because he's never been able to find anything to do, and this is the first thing that actually fits him, and he wants so much to have a servitude heart. It's very difficult when you're lying flat on your bed. We've got thousands and thousands of those stories. I believe Dave told me that no other company ever has even come close to paying out the amount of money they've paid out versus the money they've taken in on sales. The products are spectacular. They're absolutely spectacular. We're not going to get into all of those. You might go over it a little, just kind of give us the genre, but it's basically a blogging platform. You just do some content, you do a little writing or a video, you get it out every day, and then there's a lot of personal development in it, which is the #1 product in the world. I mean, it's just absolutely the #1 product in the world. It's the most profitable product you could ever do, and in essence, we turn around and we give that back to you. So before we go into the money, do you have anything to add to this? I mean, and again, guys, this is something that at the last event, one of the things that happened is, and if you know me, I do a lot of research, and have I been perfect? Nope. I made some mistakes. I sat with an attorney for over 40 hours and felt like a company was 100% on the ball. Many of us got involved, and it was a big loser. And what can you do? I did it. You guys did it. We all make our decisions, and we turn around and we go to the next great thing. I mean, many of us have had ups and downs and failures, obstacles, if you will, opportunities to learn and grow. Those are those. Most great people, most great successes have those same stories. Matter of fact, I can't even find a person that's uber amazingly successful that hasn't had setbacks. I've never found that person. I'd really like somebody to Google that and give it to me if there's such a thing, because I don't believe I don't believe it. I don't think we're gifted that way. And I'm not talking about somebody born into royalty. That doesn't count. I'm talking about those of us that have to work for a living. But I was able to meet the the owner, the president, the CEO, virtually everybody. I already knew their attorney. And I have no worries about this company in that respect, because they are 3 years old. They went through some issues where they revamped. They made some mistakes. That they admit that. And they fixed them, and they still came out of it and sold $150 million worth of products, and they're rocking right now. And what's going to happen next with this company is I liken it to this. Everybody wants to talk about a launch, and then there's that conversation. Well, if they're a launch, 98% of them are going to fail. But if you're not on the ground floor, you can't get in. I mean, it's a specious argument, whatever. Either the company's going to survive or they aren't. Either they're a launch or they're not. Amway still creates more millionaires than anybody else I know, and quite frankly, it's a great company. I'm not joining it though. But I will tell you, this company, with what they did this last weekend and what we're going to talk about today, has revolutionized the way that you're going to be paid in the home-based business. Nobody can do this. Nobody's done it. Well, they could do it, but they haven't, and they're not going to, because they just don't have this type of attitude. They're not set up this way, and they're just not geared up to do what Dave has done. And it is going to revolutionize the way people get paid. It's going to pay out more money than anybody's ever seen. He's going to make more millionaires than there's ever been, and nobody else can do it. They can't do it. They won't do it. And so if you want it, you got to do it here. So get out your credit card, and you're going to give them $9 today. That's what you're going to do, because you're not illiterate. You're going to do that. And if you don't like it, you get your doggone money back. You get your $9 back. But you're going to pay 9, then you're going to upgrade to 25 or whatever it is. And then you're going to see what kind of products you want. And you're going to get in this thing, and you're going to help us change the lives of thousands of people. Am I wrong, Paul?
You're absolutely right. And Rob, let me jump out here for just a second, because I think before we get into the money, it's really important to address this. Talking about what you saw in Nashville, and then also you were talking about some of the maybe companies that you've been with in the past who didn't fulfill their end of the bargain. I wanted to throw out, before I found this company, I was with 14 different companies. Now, I've been with this company now for 5 years straight, 4 years since they launched. And I'm not going anywhere, right? But for the first little bit, I jumped around from company to company, and one of the reasons I did was because nobody teaches people in this profession how to evaluate a home business company, a network marketing company. One of the first companies I was in, my mentor says, Paul, there's 3 things you want to look at when you evaluate a network marketing company. He says product, people, and pay plan, which may be great advice. The problem was, he didn't tell me that one of those P's was paramount to the other 2. And so for the first few years, I looked for the hot product, and then I looked for the hot plan. And what ended up happening over and over and over again was I didn't look at the people, and I didn't look at the heart, and I didn't look at the vision, and I didn't look at the foundation of what was behind the thing. And if you don't have that right, it doesn't matter how much they pay you. It doesn't matter how hot the product is. There's a good chance that it's going to crumble, and it's not going to be there to allow your dreams to come true. So I want to go back, Rob, and just ask you, what did you see in Nashville that just really turned you around? Because like you said, you were there to support a little bit, and at the end of the weekend, I watched at the end of the weekend, you were standing up, and you were cheering, and you were like, yeah, we're doing this. Like, what did you see that caused that?
Well, let me do this real quick. I want to go to my wife. And before I answer that, I will answer that. I'm not going to avoid that question, because it's incredibly important. But I want to get my sweetie on, because many of my friends know her, and they know that we do everything together. And without her, I have zero success in my life. But I want her to share what she saw in the transformation in me, and what she's seen all along. She sees things a lot quicker, clearly, than I do. Much clearer, much faster than I do. So, Kimberly, help us out here a little bit.
Well, thank you. I'm grateful to have an opportunity to speak about some of these things, because I know that if I am grappling with the ability to move my family toward a state of financial freedom, that there are other women who more than likely are facing similar obstacles. And in my case, the obstacle was largely the ability to communicate the brilliant plan that has been set out through this business model. It's actually the solution to a lot of things that are really problematic in the industry. A lot of the success that we've had over the years has been um, a lot of the success we've had over the years has been at the expense of um, our time together as families, our time together as a couple, and for me, it's been a somewhat of a somewhat of a high price tag, and I wanted the ability for our message and our mission and our purpose to be communicated to the families who need this. They need a way to get their family free from the rat race, so to speak, and to live as they're inspired. But I didn't want them to have to pay the same price that our family has paid over the years, really. And when I saw this business model, I knew that the solution for having for my particular husband to be able to participate in the wonderful lifestyle he's created for our family financially through home-based business, he's also been on the phone constantly, or having to go away on trips to do meetings for people maybe hundreds or thousands of miles from our home and our family. Sometimes I was able to go, but then there was always the the drawback of not being able to have our kids with us all the time, that sort of thing. So there were so many solutions built in here. I just had to do whatever it took to get the message through, that we could go about it in a different way, have a different experience, and still have all of the benefits that we knew was possible in the industry.
Thank you, sweetie. Well, part of the reason I needed Kimberly to come on. Can you mute your thing, please? Part of the reason I needed Kimberly to come on is a couple things happened in that moment. First of all, I just about lost it thinking about what I was going to say about what really happened in Nashville, and it's not a small thing. And second of all, half of my troop came in the door unexpectedly, and this is a home-based business, and we are family first, and my daughters have suffered me and my three-way calls and my presentations as long as they have been alive. And I make no apologies for them. I make apologies to them that I have not been able to finish the job in the way that the dream is sold. And I'm so tired of that. I don't want to be a part of that anymore. I saw this company probably within days of them launching, because I am good at what I do. I'm very good at what I do in the way I know how to do it. A lot of good people have failed in home-based businesses. And part of what I do is make sure that I know what everybody else is doing, or at least who's out there and who's who in the zoo. And so when Dave and Dave came on the scenes, I knew about them, virtually immediately. And they didn't fit the mold of what I was selling or what I was doing or what I was teaching, and so I excused them right away. It's online. They're just too lazy to do a three-way call. They're too lazy to do presentations. They want an easy buck. That's what I thought. That was my mindset, and I do think there's a lot of that online. I do think there's a lot of online people as well as offline people, belly-to-belly people that are lazy. One of the problems I ran into as soon as people saw me doing presentations all of a sudden I was scheduling flights every other weekend to go somewhere to do a presentation. And as long as somebody could get 50 to 500 people in a room, I'd show up on my own dime, on my own dollar, and on my own time, my family's time, and I would give everything I had to give. And the minute I would leave, sponsoring would quit until I came back again and would have to re-sponsor the ones and re-energize the ones because people weren't willing to learn the skill set of the business, to do the presentations, and all of that it takes. And so what they have done here is they have taken the onus off of us to do the presentations and to do these, laborious things that it's taken in the past. So what I saw this weekend is I sat in this room with 1,000. Hang on one second. Hey guys, we're doing a presentation here. That's home-based business. I mean, it really is. Everything echoes in a tile house. I've been to hundreds of these, and I don't know how many people were there, Paul, 1,000-ish, somewhere around 1,000 people, 1,300 people. The room was full. And Paul's right. The first day I refused to pump my fist and say, unleashed. I just refused to do it. I didn't want to be a part of that. It felt silly to me. And I had this attitude towards these guys that, I knew Dave was a genius by this time, though, because I'd done a little more research and reading and listened to some of his stuff. I knew he'd somehow tapped into our genius that we're gifted with. Each and every one of us has talents that we just have to recognize them and find where they are and apply them, and that's part of our purpose to be here in my way of thinking. And Dave found a way to tap into his genius somehow. He got a download, and he wants to share that, and that's part of the beauty of this. But as a matter of fact, I felt, and I told Dave this, when I first met, your business model, I was a little bit turned off on it because, quite frankly, I like to dress up. On occasion, I like to wear a suit outside of church. I mean, I wear a suit every Sunday, but I also like to wear them to, functions, and I like to dress up for my wife. I like it when she dresses up. And there was a culture that I felt or I saw, sometimes you see what you want to see, that was out there that didn't like guys like me. They wanted to go off of the main drag and go away from businesses. And this whole corporate structure is such nonsense to me anyways. 99% of corporations are small mom and pop deals, and these people work harder than anybody does just because they decided not to be an employee. And they work harder than most employees, put twice the work in for less hourly wage. And so I've always had kind of an attitude towards the employee mentality, and now the non-employee, non-corporate mentality always rubbed me wrong. Well, when I saw this culture arriving to where, mainstream business people are, whatever, and they kind of, were colorful with their language, which was a little offensive to me at first, I just was turned off. But what I saw this weekend was the most diverse crowd I've ever seen in my life, the most loving, forgiving, accepting people. And there were guys in there in tuxedos to guys in there wearing shorts and no shoes, to whatever you might expect out of just walking through downtown anywhere. You would see just about anything. And what I didn't see was envy from one table to another that I'd seen at every other event I'd been to. It's like competition. If I don't get this guy before he gets him, there was none of that. I saw none of that culture being bred, and I saw none of that culture in existence. As a matter of fact, I haven't experienced that since I left. I've made so many friends that never will mine or their checks be tied to anything that we do business-wise other than supporting each other. Never will it be. And it doesn't matter. It's not part of the deal. It has no effect on me or them other than us supporting them and the culture that we've chosen to be a part of. So as I saw these people come up there, and there's people you'll meet if you decide to put your $9 in, which again I'm going to say for the record, you're crazy if you don't. It's $9. Get your credit card out and just get it ready. It'll be the stupidest thing you ever didn't do if by May 22nd, when they launch this back-end pay plan that we're going to talk about, and you're not involved, you're going to feel you have only a short time to make a difference. You have only a short time to become part of something that's going to be one of the biggest things that ever hit this industry, ever. And I'm not talking about hype, and I'm not talking about a Ponzi scheme, and I'm not talking about some new foreign currency or anything like that. I'm not talking about anything that anybody's going to target or try to shut down. I'm not talking about any kind of auctions or any silliness. It is just what we told you it is. It's products that you will use, and you will blend your offline and online experiences, and you will change your life. In less than 90 days, your life will be changed. But that's what I saw. I saw people that had actually bought in and done that, mind, heart, soul, body, however you want to express it. I saw people that have never made $3,000 in any mechanism in their lives, that have made $1.something million in the last year and a half, and they had no abilities to create that kind of wealth without this system. I'm not saying anything derogatory about them, but they had tried. These aren't 18-year-old kids. They're not 80-year-old people. They're everybody in between that had no other way of doing this, at least apparently to them, and by their experience, wherefore and by that they could do this. And by locking arms with David and the leaders that he's created in this amazing plan, and now what he's done is he's reinvested in the people and the products, and he's come up with something that virtually anybody can do. And you know, even outside the income, they say this all the time, if you wouldn't buy the products without the income, it's probably not worth buying. I'm telling you, I'm a product of these products already, and they've already changed my life. At 55 years old, I'll be 56 this next fall, I've never went probably a day where a TV was available where I didn't see something on TV. I've gone now since the weekend, and a TV's been available to me. I have 3 in my own home. I've gone every day without TV just because it's something I wanted to do, not to prove it to myself because I know I can do it, but I've replaced it with something that is making a change in my life, which will transcend into a change into your life. If you just get that stupid credit card out and pay $9. I don't know, Paul, does that kind of cover the did I
You covered it. You covered it great. You covered it great. And maybe I'll just add on one other little piece and then throw it back to you. David Wood, just in case you don't know Dave's history, when he started Empower Network, he was already earning roughly $40,000 a month. And what had happened was he got to a point literally he had it systematized. He didn't have to be there, and he was earning $40,000 a month. His time was completely freed up, completely disconnected from his income. And the problem that he saw within his team, people were having a hard time, duplicating what he was doing because he had all this complex stuff going on in the background. And so he came to a conclusion where he was like, you know what, if people can't do what I'm doing, I would rather just go live in a van. I would rather just not make the money, because to him it just felt like a dishonest, unethical thing to be making money from selling thin air. So he just took a break from his business for like months, and he was just thinking as to what he could do to make this process that he was capitalizing on easy so that anybody could do it. And the result of that was this system, this idea, this concept popped into his brain after a lot of thinking and meditation. And here's the point. The point that I wanted to make is he did not have to start this company. He was in a position where he literally was making more money than he could ever use. He lives somewhat frugally. He drives used cars, and he was making good money. He did not have to start this company, and the reason he did was because he saw that there were so many people in the profession who were preaching a dream and living a nightmare, and there were other people who really wanted to be able to create something great in their lives with income and time freedom, and the mechanism just wasn't there. In other words, he saw that things were a little bit broken. And so that's the impetus behind why he started this company. And I just think that's so important to understand, because the why behind the company absolutely is the people in the company. It's not because he wants to be the next billion-dollar company. It's not because he wants to make a ridiculous amount of profit. The why behind this company is the people, and this company has heart, and that's really one of the biggest reasons that I'm here. I know that this is a safe place, has been a safe place for me to grow my income, has been a safe place for me to grow myself, has been a safe place for the last 4 years for me to bring my team and give them the time that they need to grow and develop and earn amazing incomes that they've been able to earn. And I know that this company is going to be here in the future, and I, for one, after hopping around from company to company to company for the first year years trying to find my freedom and got sick of it real fast. Nobody gets in this profession because they want to jump ship. We get in this profession because we want to create time freedom, we want to create leverage, and we want to bless people and help people live their destinies. And finally, I feel like we've got a company that has the heart and has the fertile soil where we can do that and make that happen. So I just want to throw that out there, Rob. Back to you, buddy.
All right, thanks, Paul. Hey, quickly, we're going to get into something. I should have said this at the very beginning because some of you guys are, all about the money when you first get in, and I'm good with that. I don't care. But, most network marketing companies, and I'm not talking about schemes and scams. If that's what you're looking for, and I know some people are, and that's your business, hang up, go away, not interested in working with you. It's one of the beautiful things about this business. We get to pick who we work with and who we hang around. I'm just simply not interested in helping anybody or being a part of something where you make money where somebody ultimately gets hurt. I have less than zero interest in that. I want every one of those companies to get shut down, and the people that start them to whatever. But that if that's you, don't get. But if you want to be in a company where 1,000 people in your downline, if you just sponsor a handful, can pay you $25 a person, that's what we're going to show you here right now, and you might want to tune in for that. Paul, we might want to put that in the beginning of this. I don't know, but I don't want to get totally into the pay plan. It's just incredible, and generally the pay plans don't matter. It's not the pay plan that doesn't allow people to build. It's not the products, because in every company there's several people that make money. There's several people that have good experience with the products. So if you're playing the blame game and blaming the products and the products or the products and the pay plan, it's usually something more to do with you anyways. But I'm telling you, they've bridged the problem between sponsorship and the money. The products here are phenomenal. The pay plan is unparalleled. There's nothing that can touch it. Nothing. Period. End of story. It just can't. And like I said, if you want to build a small army of people in a mechanism that sponsors them through the funnel for you, all you got to do is drive traffic to it, then this is your place. And they do the upsell, they do everything. But Paul, just give us an overshot of what it takes to make a little bit of money in this company, because you are close to $500,000 earner in this. Mike Hobbs, who actually you sponsored, is creeping up on $1 million. I saw a post today of a couple that was dead broke when they got in this company, and they're like, what, $4,000 away from making $1 million now? Something like that. Crazy amount. We have a Jedi hippie that came out of a pool, almost drowned, and the next day he changed his life and made $1.3 million in the last 18 months. Never had made more than $3,000 in any given month in his life at anything. And I could go on and on and on and on and on with these stories. But for a very new company, they have done some amazing things, and we're about to launch this into a whole new stratosphere. So would you, because you've been around and you saw the same thing I did, but you know it a little more intricate because you've been collecting commissions. And I'll tell you, this week I've been able to generate commissions in, not too small. I mean, in less than a week, we've generated commissions for myself and our sponsor, Paul, for, probably close to $12,000. So it's not been a terrible week in our first week, and I've only made a handful of calls. So.
That's not too shabby, Rob. That's impressive. I'd be happy to share a little bit. And before I do, maybe one thing that I can share as a pre-frame or a preface to how this compensation plan works and really what makes it so different than anything else on the planet is to maybe just share a quick story and a principle behind how to look at compensation plans and compensation structures in the future so that you can win your freedom whether you choose to partner up with us or not, because that's why we all get into this business. But again, nobody teaches this stuff. I got a business degree. Nobody taught me. There was no network marketing compensation plan 101. 101, right? So when I join, just like all of us, right? We join, we get sometimes hyped up on all the money that can be made, and then we get in and we work and we work and we learn how to produce, and then we look at the commission sometimes at the end of the day, we're like, wow, you know, I kind of figured maybe I'd be making more than this. But in any case, what happened to me and where I started to make some significant income, where I hit my first 6-figure income, is I was working, I was learning how to use the internet to sponsor and recruit, I was learning how to produce, and there was a point in my journey back in 2011 where I went from being able to make $1,500 a month, $3,000 a month, that was actually my high point, $3,000 in a month, to then I had 1 month where I was in this company where I earned a $7,200 check, then went up to a $10,000 check, and the change was so instant, it was so immediate that it caused me to think, what happened here? My production didn't increase. Why did I go from making $3,000 a month to over 3 times that in an instant? What's going on here? And what happened was I started to look at the compensation structure, and what I realized was that this compensation structure was different than anything that I'd ever done. And the best way to describe it is to share a metaphor. It's almost like, let's say you want to bake a cake, and I like to call it the freedom cake, because that's what, you know, we're working on for ourselves and other people. We're teaching people how to be free. So you want to bake this freedom cake, and you've got the recipe, and the recipe calls for, let's say, 2 cups of flour. So you've got your mixing bowl over here, and you've got your flour container over here, and you've got to figure out how to get the flour from the flour container over into the mixing bowl so you can bake your freedom cake. And you have 2 choices. You can use a teaspoon to get that flour from the flour container over to the mixing bowl, or you can use a big 1-cup measuring cup, and you can just take 1, boom, 2 scoops and be done with it. And what traditionally happens in network marketing, or at least what I've experienced, is they say, hey, doesn't this freedom cake look delicious? And you're like, oh yeah, it does. I want to eat that thing. I want it for my family, and I want to share it with other people. And then they give you a teaspoon, and they say, okay, good luck, go to work, right? And so you're earning these like $1 to $2 to $3 commissions, and then that's called building, you know, baking your freedom cake, you know, with a teaspoon. Well, the concept behind Empower Network is they say, no, we created this company so that people can be free. Instead of giving people a teaspoon, why don't we give people a big measuring cup so they can be free faster? And so one of the things that I'll share just kind of as we start explaining this compensation structure is that difference is in there, and it's a big one, and it allows people to generate more income faster so they can be free faster. And just a quick example, again, my first network marketing company, I earned, it was $1.50 residual per customer per product sold in my organization. And actually, that was the first company I started to have success in, and we built a team of 600 people locally. That was offline. That was before internet, before David Wood. That was the company that I personally sponsored 24 people in my hometown. 600 people, and my residual check in that company was $1,000 a month for 600 active people, because we were getting paid with teaspoons. So in Empower Network, on just 2 of the products that we have the ability to earn $87.50 residual per customer per product that comes to us in the compensation structure. And how does that work out for someone that's working on developing freedom? And I know there's people on this hangout right now that, you know, maybe they want to make $20, $30, $40, $50,000 a month. That's great. We have a mechanism that we believe can help you do that faster than anything else on the planet. I also know there are people on here like me. When I was living in a trailer, and I just needed $3,000 a month pipeline money, or $5,000 a month, or whatever it is. And so the first group I want to talk to real quick is just the $3,000, type of guy or gal. To make $3,000 residual in a traditional, where you're making $1.50 per customer, you'd need 2,000 people in your downline. 2,000 people to make $3,000 a month at $1.50 a pop. Now, Empower Network, to make $3,000 a month, when you're earning $87.50 residual commissions, okay, so you take 3,000 divided by $87.50, that's 34 people, or 34.28. There's not really 0.28 of a person, so we'll just round up and call it 35. So a team of 35 people where the commissions are coming to you can produce a $3,000 monthly income, and that's just on our residual product, right? Just on our residual product. And we have some higher end commissions, which is also really cool. We have some products that are more valuable and therefore have a higher price tag, and also pay a much higher commission, to the point where you can actually generate $3,000 commissions, right? $3,000 commissions. Now, for someone to make $3,000 commissions, or for someone to be free earning $3,000 commissions, how many sales or how many team members does that take, right? 2, 3, 4 $3,000 commissions in a month, and you're free from month 1, month 2, month 3 before even you've had a chance to build up, the residual on the back end. So that's just a little bit as to why I'm excited, Rob, about this comp plan without going into a lot of great detail. I'm sure there's some other things that you want to talk about, so I'll pass it back to you.
Well, what you said is paramount. Yeah, I've done this, gosh, I don't know how many thousands of times I've presented comp plans, and generally they're good. Comp plans today are hybrids, whether it be binaries, unilevels, whatever. People have combined the best of the best, matrix with an infinity pay plan and all of that. But the bottom line, when you slice it up, how many people in your group and how many dollars are you getting? We're a production paid company, so if the production is coming through a pipeline and people are buying without ever talking to you, let me make this very clear. Paul has to tell me every day, he has to train me because I'm so set in my ways, because I've done it for so long, that stop calling people. You don't need to. The system's going to do it for you. We don't talk to anybody until they've already bought. So what it is we just get out there in front of certain people. They teach us how to do this, and people start coming through our pipeline without us talking to them, and then when they buy, we make an introduction call to them, a welcome call, so to speak. That's what one of our core commitments is to make that welcome call. You got to be willing to do that after they buy. Not talking them into doing something after they buy. Now this tape is to kind of merge it so you can send it to your friends and family, and you don't have to do a presentation for them, because if you want to use this after you've given me your $9 or the company your $9, and then you've gone through the tapes and videos to decide whether this is a company you want to do, you'll do the same thing with them or make your own and send it to them. And that's our warm market approach, where you don't have to do hotel meetings, you don't have to get on planes and fly and spend a lot of resources, or wait till a guy like me or another presenter comes along so that you can bring somebody and invite them to a meeting. Now our meetings are, you go to the corporate events and you'll get your fill. It's wonderful. But when you look at this company, and after you reach certain levels, they're going to pay a back end that pays you so much money. And for those leaders out there that have built hundreds and sometimes in the thousands, we're not going to talk about the thousands because that just doesn't speak to enough people, but many people out in the industry could realize, if I sponsored 5 and it was easy and I could show people how to do that through a pipeline, and where other people are doing their presentations of funnels and I only talk to people when they buy, well, sure, I could get other people to join in that and do that, and those people can do the same thing. So you can see the multiplication can happen pretty rapidly. And if you continue to spill into the pipeline, you yourself are going to be like Paul Hutchins, going from sponsoring 0 your first year to sponsoring 300 to 400 a year after that, and never speak to them. David and some other people in this, he sponsored over 10,000 people personally, and he doesn't talk to any of them. He doesn't work any harder. He told me, he goes, Rob, he goes, I don't mean to be disrespectful. He goes, but I don't work like you do. He goes, when I want to work, I turn on my computer and I refresh my screen to see my commissions roll over. And, I can do that as often as I want. He says, you're on a 3-way call, and it's eating up your life. He goes, I don't work any harder if I have 5 people in my downline or 50,000. He goes, it's all automated. Well, that's the beauty of this thing, and that's the part of it. But literally, Paul, if you do, prescribe, let's say you go out and sign up 5, and whatever it takes you to do that. If you can do that, because the goal here is to sign up 2 a day through an automated system, and it takes about 90 days to get that percolating to where if you're doing everything they will, you'll start seeing those kind of impressions in your thing, and I'm not guaranteeing you that you'll sign up 1 or 50 or 5. I mean, you have to put in some content, and they have to actually come in and like who you are, and then click a link. But at some point they're going to get to the company's site, and they're going to go through that funnel and they're going to click buy. And when they do, some of those people are going to buy other products, and then some of those people are going to sponsor people because they're going to do the same thing. That's going to add up. And when that starts adding up, and Paul, if you had let's just pick an easy number, 1,000, because the math's easy, and most people could realize that if they thought that they actually could be with a company that could stick around for a while, and it wasn't very hard to sponsor, and they could get a trial period and a couple months of free membership, what does a person that has 1,000 people in make, if they're doing some production on their own?
It's a great question, Rob, and we actually we kind of ran out a spreadsheet here that shows the income on that type of an organization build at 1,000 people active in your group. That should produce a minimum of $25,000 a month income into your bank account with an organization of 1,000 people.
Well, I'm here to tell you right now, I've seen enough of these companies. I've been around for, I'm 55, and I got into Amway when I was 18, so you do the math. Long time. There's no company, none, period, nada, that will pay you $25,000 for doing 25,000. Now, you do have to see the pay plan and make sure you're doing some of the production, but not all of it. I mean, it's not all yours. So if you have 1,000 people in your network, and you get to the gold level, I think it's going to be called gold level, you're going to be making $25,000. Holy cow! I mean,
yeah, and let me throw out here real quick, since we're talking about income. One of the things that we really believe is important is to protect the opportunity. So we always have to throw out not a guarantee of income, see the average earnings disclaimer with our company. But one thing that I wanted to throw out is earlier in this hangout, I talked about how through some time I was able with my team members to build a team of 600 people in my local market with no internet, right? With none of that. Just a guy living in a trailer house. We were able to build a team of 600 people, and we ran out some progressions with that same size of team. Had I had that team here in Empower Network, now remember I was making $1,000 a month with that team, $1,000 a month. That same team in Empower Network with roughly the same size would be producing right around $25,000 a month. I mean, it's just crazy.
Yeah, I was with a company a few years back that has phenomenal nutritional products. As a matter of fact, we still use them on occasion, and for 6 months, I was in their top 5 or top 10, I can't remember, of recruiters. And that's worldwide, and they had a couple 100,000 distributors. They've been around for a while, and they introduced some amazing products to the United States and then worldwide in the countries they were in. And I was one of their top recruiters, and I think I built a team over a year or so. It was a slow build, but in some respects, a slow build for me. But I put in 750 people, and for a little while, when I was doing a lot of the upfront production, and the pay plan was built to pay, real fast. There was some fast start stuff, and in the beginning, I was making $5, $6, $7 grand a month. I think my highest was like close to $8 grand. But by the time it was all said and done, my residual income in that company had gone down to $300. Because out of the 750 people, a lot of them started to fade away. But even when 85% of them were active, I think my top residual check was like $1,200 or $1,300. And I mean, you work so stinking hard, and my skill set was probably safely to say above average, at least. In the respect of recruiting and presenting, and for me to make that kind of money, what chance does that leave somebody else? If we take that and we equalize that playing field to where my closing abilities or my skills matter not, and yours either, Paul, and we're able to do some development on the side while the system builds a team for us, pretty much anybody could see building a network of 1,000 people and making 25,000. And again, here's the math. In the industry, most people, most companies will pay you a couple bucks a person in your downline. That's if they pay all the way down, all the way down, a couple bucks. So you have 1,000 people, you can calculate, 1,500, maybe 5,000 if the companies are really, something paying out crazy, and you're a good producer. $5,000. We're talking 25 to 5 times what other home-based businesses can pay, period. End of story. It's time to get your card out. Just $9. Go in there. Hey, I just got a message while we were talking. Actually, it's a message to you and me through the messaging from Dave Wood, ironically enough. And he sent me over a link to what he claims is the funniest home-based business speech ever given. So just for listening to this, we're going to give you guys that. So all you need to do is get back to the person that sent this to you, if it's me or Paul or Kimberly or whoever, and we'll send you the link to that. It's free, no charge. It's a tape that nobody else has unless you're part of the inner circle of the company and you purchase that product and you get those tapes as they come out. But Dave gave us permission to give that away for free, so we're going to do that. Paul, I don't have much else left. I'm emotionally a little bit drained right now after going through this. I believe in this so much. I don't know really how to put a cap on this other than saying, you know, if you've ever trusted me or the person that sent this to you enough to spend $9, this is the time you want to exercise that trust and do the right thing for you and your family. Parting words, Paul?
Well, you know me, I always have parting words. No, I appreciate the opportunity, Rob, that you've given me to be here on this hangout and introduce me to some of the people that you love and care about. And I'm grateful that you watched this presentation clear till this point. And I believe that if you're still here watching, that means something special about you. I believe it means that you've got the fire of freedom burning inside of you. I believe it means that you have a heart to do good things in the world and to lift people up and to raise them and help them be free. And if that's you, I would just encourage you to definitely go ahead and pull out your credit card and join for $9. Get in the system. We're going to get you some additional education at that point so you can see just what it is that you've gotten yourself into. But bottom line is we're doing this with or without you, Rob and Kimberly and I and the rest of the team. We know that we've got something special here. We've planted our flags and we're going to do something big. We have a vision actually. Dave, you know, the company owner, he has a vision to create 100 millionaires a year. He's already created 14 $1 million earners, people who have earned over $1 million in Empower Network, and he's on his way to creating 100 of those every year. And I am 100% fully confident, fully just completely faithful that this company is on the way to doing that. And our team inside Empower Network, we have a vision to be a conduit, to be a pipeline for that. And what our vision is we want to free 100 people a year, because not everyone needs to make $1 million to be free. There's a lot of people that need $3,000 a month, $5,000 a month, $10,000 a month. And our vision is to help 100 families every year step into freedom. And we would love nothing more than for you and your family to be one of those. And all you have to do is make a decision to give us $9, 100% money back guarantee, fully refundable. If you get inside and you're like, hey, these guys, I don't like what I see, you'll get your $9 back. But I have a feeling you'll get in for $9. You'll start to see the additional education. You'll start to see how this system is set up. You'll start to see the freedom machine that this really is. And maybe, just maybe, you'll make a decision that you want to do this with us and you want to build a legacy here with us and you want to free the people too. So I would just encourage you to go ahead and make a decision, get started. You've got nothing to lose and everything to gain. That's it, Rob.
All right. From Paul and Kimberly and myself, it's often said it's much about the journey, and we're glad you're on it with us. Thank you. God bless. We'll see you later.